We are in the San Fernando Valley, and we are going to be interviewing Enrique Villanueva, and he is granted us this interview because this is part of a series where people that have had encounters, especially from Latin America, have volunteered to give me some information and to tell exactly how they lived through this very unique experience. But I want to ask Enrique, first of all, you are from Peru. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I was born in Lima, Peru, that's the capital. And I had my first sighting when I was 7 years old, playing with friends outside my house. And we saw this light going up, and then a flash so bright that the night became day. I was very impressed. Days later, another ship, this time closer to the avenue that was close to my home. I saw the adults running towards the avenue, and we were the kids at the time, so we ran after them trying to see what was it. And then we noticed this thing that looked like two plates touching, and this thing moved so sudden, so fast, and then so gentle also. And I remember the adults mentioning that that was an alien invasion or something like that, and we were kids and we were like, what is that? What is an alien? What is UFO? In Spanish is OVNI, Objeto Volador No Identificado, an unidentified flying object. So I think that was the first time I heard the technical description of that. My father was always interested in the paranormal phenomena. So
it was your father who was interested in your family, your father mainly. What did your father do for a living?
He was a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, he worked for the police, and he was very interested. He was part of the Rosicrucian order at some point in his life. Then he went with the Gnostics. Then he was part of the Freemason. He was experiencing many different fields of the awakening of consciousness. And when I was born, the library was already there in my house with all these books and stuff. And I guess when I saw the ships, the first sightings I had, I asked my dad, and he just pointed at the library. You have many books there, you can search. And from searching about UFOs, I found information about yoga, about astral projection, and I was very curious. And I remember at 12, I had my first astral projections. Spontaneously, I was suddenly out of my body and somewhere else, and in the beginning I was afraid of it. I didn't know how to control that. Later I studied and learned some techniques, but I realized that the astral realm is as limited as this one. So I decided if I was going to reach some kind of opening in my consciousness, it was going to happen when I was experiencing my physical being. So I kind of like get away from the astral projection and the experience there, and I just concentrate on meditation and trying to understand what was the reason, the meaning of being here. From 12 to 16, I was in that search, and then at 16, I started having these sightings. Every time I went up to the roof of my house, I saw these lights on top. I wasn't sure what was it, maybe a UFO, but it's too high. It was more like a stars moving, then crossing their paths or moving in zigzags on the sky. In meditation, I sent this idea of I'm looking for a friend out there. I feel so out of place in this in this planet, and maybe if you are interested, we can talk about it. And I had some astral experiences with them. They called me first. This was like this. I was resting one afternoon when suddenly I heard the phone ringing. So I asked, anybody's going to answer that? Nobody in my home, so I ran towards the phone. I lifted up, and then this voice told me, you asked for a friend. We are in the solar system. We will visit you soon. So I was like, what? I was expecting something in my mind, some kind of telepathic communication, and this is in a phone. And then I hang up, and then the phone was still ringing. And I realized that I was not there. I was still in my body, resting in the bed. So immediately I stand up now with my physical body and I run towards the phone because it was ringing still. I lifted up and there was nothing. It was like black. But I had this strong feeling that the communication was real and they were using the symbol of the telephone to let me know that they were going to get closer now. And I was open to the experience. Then the Rama group appeared in the news, Channel 4, I think, at the time in Peru.
And let's define the Rama group as a group around Sister Paz Wells, right?
Yes, it's a group of contact that started in 1974 with the experience of Sixto and Charlie Paz, both brothers. And in 74 they started having the sightings, then the contact became closer and closer until they have the opportunity to confront these beings, and then even were invited inside the spaceships. And well, Sixto had experience, then the whole community of Ramas are having the experience of contact at different levels.
And the beings are people.
They are people, they look like people. At this point, Paula, I have more questions than answers.
Yeah,
I can tell you what I experienced, what I understood of it, but I'm not 100% sure about their origins.
You're right.
And I still question some of my own experiences.
Okay. You said that you had this invitation. Remember, it's an invitation.
Yes.
And then you decided you saw Rama that was in your vicinity. Then what happened?
I tried to get close to Rama. Rama was a close group at the time. They didn't want me to participate with them in the encounter they were going to have in the desert because I didn't have the preparation. They said that I need at least 1 year with them in order to go for that encounter, that specific event. And I was a rebel at the time, so I decided I was going to go anyways. So I told my dad, and together we traveled to the desert of Chilca in the specific date. But we got lost in the middle of the desert, and we never reached the point where the experience was supposed to happen. And when we went back, entering the city, the whole city went to this blackout, no lights at all. That was common at the time because we had terrorism at the time. It was awful. The terrorists blew out the towers of energy around the city. So we assumed that it was an attack from the terrorists. And we entered the city like nothing. We were already used for years to the terrorism, so it was kind of like normal. And I remember going home, putting my candle beside my bed, and then I heard this low vibration, like a buzzing sound, like bzzz. And it was so strong to me that I realized the dogs around the block were listening to that too, because the dogs started barking a lot. So I went down to my brother and I asked, "Can you hear that?" And he was like, "I cannot hear anything." So I told him, maybe I listen like dogs or something, because I'm sensing something here. I went up, sleep, and that night I had a very strong experience meeting these two beings, very small ones, and they took me inside this spaceship that I was kind of like a small. And we went up, they showed me kind of like a base behind the moon, or maybe in the dark side of the moon. And from there, they explained many other things about the solar system and bases, extraterrestrial bases in our solar system. It was so much information that when I woke up, I was like in shock. I couldn't believe that I was going to talk about this with my family or my friends. I definitely needed to be with people that understood a little bit of this. So then I decided that I was going to be part of the Rama group. I went to them, I explained many of the things I experienced. I explained about dreams I had with this strange, weird, big book with many symbols. And they told me, yeah, we know about that. We received that information many years ago. And they explained about the Akashic records and how was that related to the history of humankind and ancient civilizations in the planet. And I confronted and validated some of the information I received with the Rama group, and I became part of them. Weeks later, we have the first sighting together. me and the new members of the Rama, because I entered with a group of kids that were my age, and 15 people in the desert of Chilca. At 12 at night, we saw this light coming at the level of the mountains. They stay in formation, then some went down, some went up, then some moving to the side. Then one of those ships came closer to us and started approaching us. In our group, there were like 2 girls. One of them became really stressed and nervous. She started crying, and then the thing stopped in middle air and started going down. I would say 15 meters away from us. I felt like running towards the thing, but my instructor at the time, Edwin Argueta, he told us not to get close. The terrain was not like really plain. We could easily mistake something, and we decided to stay.
Was this at night?
At night, yes. That was
Okay.
the first sighting with a group. Later, the sightings became something normal. Every time we went to the desert, we had the sightings. I became a little bit bored with the sightings. I wanted more, so I really dedicate myself to follow all the directions of the training with Rama. So I became a vegetarian, I meditate a lot, I did the breathing exercises, and everything they suggest I did. I just wanted to have more closeness to the experience. And it happened that one day when we were having a sighting, no, that was the second. The first time was when I was trying to receive psychography. I was thinking that my group, because we were the new guys in Rama, we didn't have an antenna. The antenna in Rama is a person that can open the telepathic channel and can receive the information in order to guide the whole group. In my new group, there was no antenna, so I thought maybe I should predispose myself in order to receive this information. Maybe I am the antenna. So I got my pen and paper, the same way Sixto did many years before.
It's like an automatic writing, but you can also draw designs, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
You feel an impulse, and then the ideas are in your mind, and you feel like writing. So I never experienced that before, but I knew how to do it. So I sit with my pen and paper and just wait for the thing, open my mind, clear my thoughts and everything. And then 15 minutes later, nothing happened. Just a little subtle energy running on my shoulders, I was said. Next day I tried again, and I felt the presence of someone maybe around, but I looked around, nothing happened. Third night, it was 11 p.m., and I thought, this is the last attempt I'm going to do. If it's not happening tonight, it's not going to happen for me. So I was with my paper, pen, closed my eyes, cleared my mind, then I felt the energy running again, the presence of someone again, and I thought that could be my mind. I'm going to still wait. And then I felt the presence very strong. So I opened my eyes and looked around, thinking that it was my father or my brother maybe. They woke up or they are going to the kitchen.
You did this at night?
At night. Every night was at 11, the same hour. Nobody was there, so I grabbed the pen again, put it on top of the paper, closed my eyes, and then I felt the clear presence of someone behind me approaching me with the hands like this. The most weird thing, because I could see his hands approaching me, even though I was with my eyes closed. I saw the hands getting closer to here, and then I saw the energy coming from the palms of the hands and running through my skull, like a bzzz, bzzz. And the third buzzing sound was like an explosion in my forehead. And then I opened my eyes, and then the guy was standing in the other side of the table. And I was really in shock. I didn't expect that. I was expecting some voice in my mind telling me something, but this guy was standing in the other side of the table, and I was ready to run. I remember my heart was so fast.
Was he solid, or could you see through him?
I couldn't see through him, but around his body there was this contour of light. That was not an aura, that was something else. Very
It was just like a
bright
contour of
in the
light.
contour.
Was it like a hologram?
It could have been. I didn't touch him at that time, but I saw this light around him. He was very tall, maybe 6'2", around that.
6'2". And what was his hair like? What was he like?
His hair was long, close to the shoulders. He was lacio, how do you say that in English? I'm not sure. Straight.
Oh, straight. Was it blonde or was it light brown?
It was kind of like white.
White?
Yeah, like an elder, but he was not elder at all. He was like in his 30s maybe.
It was like platinum blonde maybe.
Yeah, kind of like that.
And he had, and his features, were they?
Like an Oriental Mongol guy, big eyes, but like a Chinese.
Yeah.
And his cheekbones were a little higher, but very human and very beautiful, exotic beauty.
Okay.
And what else about him? His body was impressive because even though he was wearing this kind of like a silk tunic or robe, I could see clearly the form of his athletic body, his shoulders, very well pronounced, very athletic figure, like a gymnastic.
What color was his tunic?
White.
So he was white. He was dressed in white.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was standing there, and as I say, I was in shock, and I didn't expect that. So I felt like if I continue like that, I was gonna collapse because I already felt my heart here in my throat. And I was just waiting for the thing, and because he didn't say anything, I opened my mouth and I said, "Are you gonna say something so I can write down?" And I was trying to break the ice because it was really uncomfortable and the feeling was awful. And then he looked at me, and then I sensed this energy coming from him so strong, I couldn't see that energy. Even though I was seeing the contour of light, I couldn't see that thing, but I could felt it like embracing me completely. And when I felt that energy, I felt his fraternal love. That was the feeling, so strong that my brain immediately translated that feeling into little brother. That was his first words. And I felt that, and I felt that was my brother. There was no doubt about it. The feeling was like, I'm not gonna harm you, I'm not gonna do anything bad to you, just relax, I'm here to embrace you. And I was just like, yeah, I relaxed completely, and the weird thing is I couldn't articulate all the millions of questions I had before the experience. I was just blank and waiting. And then he told me there was a need for me to calm down because you are not the antenna of the group. And you need to go back to the group, explain what happened, tell them that this is a way to predispose for the communication. We will be ready. Between you, there is already one that has the channel open. We need him to be ready for this. Just go back, tell them how it happened, and you will see.
Did they name who it was?
No. They just told me to go to the group. And then he told me, and every time you predispose yourself with the intention or the will to serve your group, we will be ready to assist you. And it was like a moment of silence, like he was waiting for me to say something, but I was like in awe, like keep talking, right? But nothing happened. And then he just smiled at me, and then that contour of light started getting brighter, brighter, and then his whole image collapsed in a spot in the earth.
In a spot.
Like those old TVs when you turn them off and all the image goes, just like that. And I was like, did it really happen, or what's going on with my brain?
When he was talking to you, did you see his mouth move, or did you just hear it in your mind?
It was the feeling that my brain was translating into my own language.
Into your own language.
In
It was
this
almost
case,
like your own
Spanish.
voice, no? Or was it like your own voice, or was his voice different?
It's not actually a listening. It's not a sound. Even though you can identify the voice with a sound because you are used to talk to yourself, but it's actually not any sound. It's more the feeling, and your brain translating that into the words that are familiar to you.
Because he's speaking in Spanish, because...
I was speaking in Spanish. He was speaking in feeling.
Okay, so, because this communication is interesting, because these visitations have been worldwide in different countries.
Yes.
It doesn't mean these people go to school to learn all these languages. They have a way of communicating what they're thinking and feeling so that you receive it in your language, no?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I think that is telepathy. It's not the transmission of just words or thoughts. I think is feeling. And the feeling, I think, is a deeper level of thought. A thought that is so universal that embraces all the living things.
So it's a very important communication, Enrique, because if we had that kind of communication even on this planet, we would not lie, we would not have misunderstandings. We would all be on the same wavelength, which you call the same wavelength,
Yeah.
which would help eliminate all the borders of communication on this planet. That's the problem.
We probably will understand in the future that there is no reason to fear your brother. He got exactly the same fears. If you could feel him, her, you won't need to attack anymore, right? Because I was stressed because I was expecting an attack because that was so unknown to me. But when he let me feel that, I was relaxed and accepting of his fraternal love. Yeah.
Okay, so he told you to go back to your group and you are not the antenna.
Yeah.
So what happened after that?
I went back to the group, kids were there, they used to play ping pong in the place, I remember, and that day they didn't feel like practicing meditation or anything. I was like insisting, like, guys, we have to go back, this happened. Most of them didn't believe me. They were like, that doesn't happen, an antenna doesn't receive the visitation of a physical being in the middle of the living room, that's impossible. And I was like, maybe it didn't happen in Rama before, but it happened to me, and it's real. They were like, ping pong, ping pong. And then this guy, Victor Benitez, arrived. He was away from the group for the reason of his job for 2 weeks. And he came back, and he was the only one that was picking up on my talking, and he said, Enrique, but how did you do it? I said, okay, let's go to the living room, I'm gonna show you how. I took the paper, pen, and everything. I was breathing. I'm not the antenna, but this is the way it's supposed to be. And just repeat and do this over and over. I told him, the third night I tried this happened. I cannot tell you that it's gonna happen to you, but just try it, let's see what happens. And he tried it the second day. When he was going in the bus to his job, something happened to him, and he started feeling these ideas in his mind, and he couldn't control them. He grabbed a piece of paper, I think it was a napkin, and he started writing in the napkin, like, without control. And his first 2 weeks were like that. Anywhere he was, he started receiving this information, he started writing, even in his hands sometimes. And later he controlled the thing, and he was more like in calm when he received the information. He was the antenna of the group.
He was the antenna of the group.
Yeah.
And how long were you with that group?
For the next 2 years, we practiced together. Through Victor, we received many invitations to go into Marcahuasi, place in the Andes, a very high altitude where we have some sightings and some communication with these beings. Then to the Nazca lines south of Lima,
Okay.
and many different places that are already known for the high energy they have. And it seems these aliens, these extraterrestrials, use these special vortexes in order to move, I guess, with their ships around the planet.
It's kind of like the planet has a grid, and they need these vortexes to move. This and did they tell you where they were from?
As I told you, I didn't have the opportunity to clear my mind in a way that I could
Ask
put my
questions.
questions up front and say this is. Sometimes I did question them, but I did in a different context. Like sometimes during my meditation, I could see them clearly. And I was so calm that I was ready to question them. I did kind of like accept the idea that they were coming from the bases in the solar planet. Sixto and the Rama group point at different locations in space. They say that some are colonies from Orion, some are colonies that have their bases in Venus. Not that the Venus life is original from there. They create an artificial life in Venus. I wasn't sure. I was just open. And during one meditation, and it was like 2 years after, when I was close to leave the Rama group. In one meditation, I confront one of these beings. his name is Sordas, or he identified his name with that, he's being with that name.
What's his name?
Sordas.
Sordas. Okay.
He is supposed to come from one of the planets in the Alpha Centauri star system, and that's what we know in Rama. So those are things I cannot verify. That's common knowledge in Rama. But then Sordas was in front of me, and I had so many questions that I couldn't express at the time, and I was a little frustrated. And I remember I told him, I got it. You came from that system, and I'm here, and I'm supposed to believe everything that you guys are bringing, and I wasn't sure that you are what my whole group is saying. I'm not sure that you are really this extraterrestrial being. Maybe you are not even a being. Maybe you are some kind of holographic image. Maybe you are part of mechanism of control that is guiding us through this imagery, or is guiding us through a new kind of mythology. I don't know. I was questioning myself about many things. So I told him, maybe you are part of that system. And then he told me, if you think I'm not real, use exactly the same judgment to apply, you apply to myself, to yourself. Ask yourself how real you are. And I use the same thing, and I realize, I don't know what the hell I am. So we are at the same level. And I was glad that he answered that, because he put me right in the position of the real question, who I am, what am I doing here? And I accept his answer. I don't need to know if he really comes from Apu, from that planet in Alpha Centauri. I just wanted to be wise. Yeah.
You want to, but you also, I think, want to wake up. I mean, because the people that are the most awake can get the truth faster, and the clear truth, not the truth that's wrapped around all the illusions on the planet. So in all of your communication, did you get messages about what your role is, what you're supposed to do, you?
That's very interesting. They don't answer straight as we would like them to say things. Brahma is a mission of contact between many missions. Okay, that's what we understood from the experience. But then, individually, we come with our own background. So, when I went out of Rama, I have some other experiences that, in a way, give more sense to the experience of Rama.
I understand, because I've talked to several contactees, or people that have had contact that have been awakened, and they also feel the same way. They get more answers when they, on their individual level, to do whatever it is they're supposed to do. And that's why I questioned you about being here in the San Fernando Valley in California. And can you answer what you answered to me, because it was so beautiful the way you put it. You said about our locations, a lot of people that are working in wanting to get to the truth and unify humanity, so we can have contact with the cosmos. Why are you here? Why are you in California? I mean, you're from Lima, Peru. You have that culture. That culture is definitely more open and less a distraction than the United States. Why do you feel?
Through the experience of contact, I realized in a personal level of understanding that I'm raising my consciousness, as you say. And in a way, you are pulling your whole community with it. But then, through an experience, a very hard crisis in myself, I was very close to drown in Peru. I realized that my mission was not in Peru. I was already...
Wait a minute, we got to... Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
If just... We were talking about contact, and I was saying how that we are not really prepared for contact, because these people are so above us. They are so evolved that that I don't know what kind of connection or kind of conversation you can have with these people, but you can have a heart connection with them. And then I added that you must be maybe a good person to have a heart connection, and you said that even...
Well, you can be a bad person in a good day. They are not noticing who is good or bad. I don't think they judge us that way. They only see who is raising the vibration now that we are close to you. I don't believe in good people or bad people anymore. I think we all have the potential of just opening our heart. And I've seen people that has been in a wrong position for a very long time to become so humble in front of the experience. So I think we all have the potential to raise our consciousness. Yeah.
And when you say raise the vibration, does it mean that you happen to, at that particular moment, be on a certain vibratory level for them to communicate? And does that mean always meditation?
No, not always meditation, because you can have the attitude of meditation even when you are awake. If you have been for a long time practicing meditation, your mind already comes down. So you can be in that state even when you are talking to people, when you are buying in the stores. So I think the idea is to train yourself to get that level of balance, inner balance, between your physical, your mental, and your spiritual.
Tell me, when you got this inner balance, did it come as a result of a tragedy, or was it training? How did you get to the inner balance part?
The aliens mentioned that there was a state of consciousness called the fourth dimension of consciousness. In Rama, it is used to, we talk about this like it's a level we are going to reach as humankind, right? Mm-hmm. In the 70s, 80s, everybody was talking about that, but I was not interested in the fourth dimension. I was more into the sighting. I want the ship to come down. I want to have another encounter with these beings. I was all for that. But then they invited me to have this visit inside their ship. And I thought I was ready. I even say explicitly, verbally, I am ready for this. The spaceship was going up and I said, I am ready. My friends were there.
Where was this?
It was in the Rama meeting location in Lima,
okay.
Avenida Brasil, that was the place. And there was an open sky, we saw the ship passing. My friends told me, oh, they are there. And I said, I'm bored of that. I need to be inside. It is time for me to have the experience.
Okay.
That night, that same night, it was around 3 a.m. in the morning. I felt the energy, the buzzing sound going through my head. This time it was going through my chest. I was sleeping. And then I felt like, zzz, zzz, like the thing was going through my chest and coming from my back. And then I opened my eyes and saw this being. He was so huge, his head was like this, trying not to touch the ceiling of my room. His hands were like this, and blue light was coming from his hands into my chest. He was like that. And I thought, this must be a dream. I mean, I was sleeping, this is a dream, right? And then the guy kept like this, and I was feeling the energy so intense that I thought, this feels very real. At that time I was trying to receive the psychography. So I stretched my hand, and he touched my hand, and he stepped to the other side. He was so huge that he was already in the other side of the bed. So he was holding me like this, and I felt the warmth, the feeling in his hand, and I thought, I'm awake. And then I looked to the side, the window was to my side of the bed, and I noticed this bright light pulsating and coming from the side. And then I looked at him, and he told me, are you ready? The feeling, are you ready? And I was not ready.
I can understand that. I can understand that.
I let go of his hand. I went back and I said, no, I cannot do it. I'm sorry. I said I was ready, but I am not. And it's only because you asked so much for the experience. When you arrive to that moment, it's like you cannot handle it.
I know. It's terrifying. I know. And so, were you ever ready? Did you finally get inside?
Months later, after that experience, because he left me after that. He told me it's okay, there will be a time, and he just went away. He didn't went away. Actually, he stepped close to me, put his hands in, I went unconscious. I woke up feeling like the whole room was moving like this, like I was really drunk the night before or something like that. I ran towards the bathroom and I started like trying to.
Yeah,
And I expelled something that was like a dark stone, very hard, that went through my throat, went down.
Wow.
I thought there was some kind of healing he did
Okay.
to my body that night. Like 6 months later, I was invited to have the experience, but this time he told me, it was in a dream, we are inviting you and Renzo and Miguel, other friends of the group. But we were not supposed to talk to each other. We were supposed to arrive to the place, to the location, and at the time they say, it was in the desert of Chilca. So I went there without saying anything. My backpack, my sleeping bag. I arrived to the place, it's like far away, no cities around, no lights or anything. I waited the first night, waiting for my friends, not for the aliens, but for Renzo and Miguel. They didn't arrive. The next night, I was so afraid because I saw the ships at night and I told them, I'm not ready to have the experience without my friends. I don't want to have it. And I went to sleep. And this place in the desert is like surrounded by little hills. We call them cerros, like little mountains. And there is like una quebrada, in between the hills, there is a pass. And I woke up around 5 a.m. and I noticed from that pass was a very thick mist, very bright white mist coming at the level of the desert, advancing towards the position I was. And when I saw that, I thought that is not normal, and I don't want to be here. But that was the only way back to the highway. So I said, I'm not going to stay until that thing reached me here. So I immediately grabbed my sleeping bag, my backpack, and I started walking. I didn't want to see it at the mist. I just walked and walked and walked.
Did you even think it might be a Zenda?
No. The center normally forms with a specific form. It's like
A dome.
a dome. Yeah. This thing was a mist, thick mist. So I walked and walked towards the pass between the hills, when suddenly I was already inside the mist. And I said, I'm not going to stop. I was walking. Suddenly I felt the steps close to me. And I thought maybe it's the echo of my own steps. I'm okay, I'm all right, nothing happened. I kept walking when suddenly this sound that made my hairs like, it was like the sound of a piece of metal, a big plank of metal hitting the ground, like bang, in the middle of nothing. And that thing was so close that I just stepped there and I prayed to God they don't approach. I was like, please, I am not ready, I don't want to have the experience today. And I noticed as I stopped, there was something, I don't know if producing or absorbing the mist, something circular moving to my left. And when I tried to turn there, I noticed this silhouette of a very tall guy, at least 9 feet tall, standing there. And then I was getting close to the highway, the bus stop. I sat in the bus and looked at the time, and it was 1 p.m. And I thought, no, it's 4 hours from there to the highway. It should be around 9 a.m. So there are hours that I lost. I don't know what happened.
And you don't know what happened?
In a self-induction, because I'm a hypnotherapist, I reached the place where I turned to this guy, and he extended his hand and bring me to this kind of like an arch. I went through that, and we were inside this space that had like pyramids that were inverted, like in an orange color, and we went under those things, and that's it. I don't
So
have
you
any other
think maybe
memory.
he took you to where he was from, and it was done through a portal of some kind?
I know for sure he took me to some place and he gave me some information that I needed to know about my path in a different country. I know for sure he put some kind of program or something that I was supposed to follow that I shouldn't remember consciously.
Okay.
So in a way, you are like sent to a different place. After that experience, I almost drowned in the ocean. I was swimming with my friends very early in the morning.
This is in Peru.
In Peru, in Lima, and suddenly the ocean became crazy, and my friends were sleeping in the towels, so I was fighting by myself. And I remember that I thought, maybe this is the day I'm gonna die. There is no one. My friends are sleeping, and it was very early. And then I asked, I would like to have at least 5 minutes to say goodbye to my family, to my friends, or to anybody. And fighting, suddenly I saw someone swimming from the inside out. This guy seemed strong. He was, I don't know, maybe 50 meters. And I thought, this is an angel. Somebody sent him to save me. So I approached him as I could. When I was like 5 meters close to him, he lifted his face, looked at me, and he told me, friend, please help me, I'm drowning here. And I was like, what?
He told you that?
Yeah, he told me that. So I was like, now we are two in trouble. So I said, I cannot believe what kind of a sick joke is this. I was like confronting God at the moment, right? So I immediately give that back to the guy and I say, I don't care, I'm not gonna die today. And I look at the shore and try to swim. But as I was swimming, I realized, if I leave this guy here, and if I get out without him, I'm as dead as I am right now. At least he's the only family I have. He's the family I was asking for. What am I running from?
Did you recognize him as an extraterrestrial?
No.
As he was a human?
He was any other human, any other guy. So I stopped swimming and got close to him, and he was like crying already, very scared too. And I told him, I'm not gonna leave you. Either we get out together or we go to the other side together, but we're gonna be okay, nothing happened. So we started fighting together until the moment when we couldn't fight anymore. We were so heavy in our arms and legs, and it's like the ocean went back. It just pulled all the water back, and as much as we tried, the thing was still pulling and pulling. And then we realized we couldn't fight anymore. But I was so proud of this warrior to my side. I was in love with humanity and everything, and I realized that it was okay. This is the best way to go. And I couldn't say anything else. I just looked at him and smiled, and he realized that that was our moment. That was it. And then it was like an explosion of light from my chest in every direction. And the ocean just like relaxed completely. It was like a cup of tea. And we were like, what happened? It was like at the moment I accept I was dead, and I accept that peace, then the whole ocean became peaceful. And we went out. I just leave him in the shore. I didn't even ask for a name or anything. I just walked towards my towel. And then my friend woke up in the towel and he told me, Enrique, I just had a dream. We are going to the United States and we are going to be there for a while. And I said, yeah, I think so.
Oh, so that's how you're here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I realized that day that we are not here by ourselves. At the moment I realized that we are here for the others. If I tried to save myself that day, I would have died probably. He saved me, appearing to my side.
Right.
I realized that every time you save someone, you save yourself, you save humankind. And I knew I was going to be deposited in some special place. I tried to apply for my visa to Russia, China, United States gave me the visa. So I came here, and I realized that we are like a needle in acupuncture. You are located exactly at the spot you are supposed to be in order to activate the grid that is in that place. In Rama, they always talk about the number 33 as an activator of consciousness. And I think here in California, we are passing through the parallel 33. Somebody told me that, I'm not sure, but it's like we are located in a specific location for a reason. And I'm sure that program they deposit in my mind is related to whatever I'm doing here.
Well, you know, your story is so interesting, and there was an incident in Shasta that that you had. Do you want to talk about that really quickly, and then?
I had many incidents in Shasta. I'm not sure which one.
Well, you said you had many incidents of physical contact in Shasta?
No, in Shasta, physical contact, just one in 2012.
2012. Were a being?
It was in the month of September, the 21st, 22nd of September. We were camping in Shasta. And at some point, I separated from the group, looking for someone. When I felt the light so bright in that specific location of the open forest, and I remained there for a little bit thinking that I was going to meditate. At the distance, there was a hill like 50 meters away from me, and behind the trees I noticed the movement of some people. And I thought they were hikers from Shasta City. They looked like young people. They were wearing suits like the people that ride the bicycles. Have you seen those suits very
Bicycle
close?
suits, yeah.
Yeah, but those were white. At the distance I could notice that. And they had long hair. They were like blonde. And at the moment I didn't want to think much. Because it's not a common place to have an encounter during the day. So clear, so I thought there must be some hikers, and I just turned my face and tried to continue the meditation. Then I felt the thing, again the feeling, the embrace, and I was like, no. And I looked again, and from the group separated one of the guys and walked towards the front of the hill, and he lifted his hand. His blonde hair, his body muscular, but not as tall as the first guy I saw years before. And then I sensed the name of this guy is Sampiak. We in Rama have the communication with him through psychography, rarely physical.
What's his name?
Sampiak.
Sampiak?
He's supposed to be from the bases in Venus. They are colonies from the group of stars. It's called the
Pleiades?
Pleiades.
Okay.
Yes. You see, I'm not well versed in
Yeah.
astronomy or anything.
No.
And what happened is this guy just saluted like that, and I thought to myself, just keep there and send me whatever information because I cannot handle this again. And then from the group in the back, a woman detached and started walking down the hill, and it was definitely a female figure, and she got high boots, and she walked straight line down the hill, then she turned, and then she walked towards me, like she was in a kind of catwalk or something. It was weird because when I hear the sound of her steps, I turned my face to look down, and her feet were not touching the ground. And that really shocked me. I was like, this is not normal. So I just sit back. I was sitting on this piece of wood, some tree, somebody cut there. I was sitting like that. So I did this and I just closed my eyes. And I heard steps getting closer, and she was right here. And then it was like she was holding me, like she made me remember the moments when we worked together in the past. In this lifetime and in some other place, I don't remember. Maybe she deposits some kind of imagery that doesn't exist, but made me feel comfortable. But I remember in the year 1995, I was driving my car in San Jose City when I felt my heart very agitated. I stopped there. I thought I was going to have a heart attack or something. And then I realized there was an energy oppressing my chest. And at the moment I said, I just want to know what is going on. This is not me. What's happening? And I closed my eyes and I saw my vision going through the sky. And I saw this thing coming, like making this spiral swirl in the air. And it stops, and I saw the letters of a newspaper, and it says accidente aéreo. In Spanish is, in English, airline accident or something like that. And the A from one word and the A from the other touch from the words and put together, one red, one blue, and I noticed the logo of American Airlines. And immediately I saw myself inside the plane, and I noticed the people, And then from the middle, somebody yelled something, and some people tried to look to the thing, and then an explosion from the front, like it was so violent and sudden. And then I was inside the plane again, and then the guy again said, "Look at this," and everybody turned, and then the explosion. It was like a repetition of the same thing over and over. And then I noticed this yellow light outside the plane, through the windows in this side. And I knew that is not normal. And then somebody called me. I was with a radio working that day in San Jose. And then they took me out of that vision. And I thought, this is happening, and I have to do something to avoid that. So I started working with my mind, trying to protect the airplane with light and whatever they taught me in Rama. I used it that day. But I was working so fast, hour after hour, and when I went back home, I turned on the TV, and in the news, there was this airplane for American Airlines that crashed against a mountain in Colombia.
Oh, yeah, I remember
like
that.
90-something people.
Yes.
And I was so pissed off. I was so mad that day because it's like, why do you have that ability if you're not going to be able to use it?
Right.
I remember that I went to my room, I was like crying, I was mad, and then I complained about it, like, you don't give me this thing. I don't need it, and do something. And I went to my bed, and then I felt this energy again. And then I was flying towards the thing. It was night already. The debris were all over the place, flames and everything. And these ships stationary on top of the location. That's not what you see in the news, but I saw the thing right there.
Beautiful.
And I descend, and I saw these beings standing there, between them this female, and that was Anita, the woman that was now in Shasta with me. And she told me, tonight, names are not important, you are here to do the job that humankind is supposed to do, because we are not saving anybody, we are teaching you how to save yourselves. And I asked her, why didn't you protect the airplane? You were there, you could have used your technology to just make it descend peacefully. She told me, sometimes we do, but we have to alter time. And sometimes we cannot, because the karma or the energy created by that particular population is too strong. And in that case, you are the one supposed to help. And I told her, what am I supposed to do? And she told me, look around. And they were like bubbles, like spheres. And inside every sphere, there was a person trapped in his own history of the accident. This gentleman was reading the magazine when he heard someone yelling. He looked, and then the explosion, and the seat in front of him broke his shoulder. And then he repeated the event again, over and over. And then an attack approached him, entered the bubble, grabbed him by the shoulders, and told him, "You're ready. This is done. This is not real anymore." And then she took him out, and the whole bubble vanished. And he realized he was not in a physical body anymore, and he started helping too. She told me that what they did is create a capsule of time around the event, because they know the energy can spread easily to the collective consciousness. If that happened, the whole humankind level of vibration lowers.
Okay.
So what they
Into
do...
fear, right?
Exactly.
Fear is the thing.
They try to protect us from that collective fear of that group.
Right.
So now that the event already happened, the energy is still trapped there. And now the higher consciousness in humankind is supposed to fix that. So now they call us. And you guys do the work without even knowing. Many of the people that were there like me, they were not conscious. They thought it was just a dream at night. But we were doing the job. We were taking those consciousness out of fear to realize where they are now. And then all together we grabbed hands when we got all the people out, and we called this light that was like a cylinder going down. And then we enter, and these beings that didn't have the physical body, they just went up. they vanish. So
This is
that
like a
was-
life after death experience with people that die violently,
Yeah,
right?
and these aliens help us to be the buffer between those experiences.
So this is like the work you do almost though, because you do a lot of work with troubled people, right?
Yeah,
So you're doing what you're supposed to do, right?
yeah.
But with a little extraterrestrial help, right? Right. Because you have the awareness of what this means in the overall scheme of things of one's life. You have the awareness.
You could say that.
You're not just doing it because you're a hypnotherapist and you have an hour and so you're doing it as part of an overall collective experience.
Definitely, we are part of everything. We are helping the whole group to
raise their
to the next
consciousness.
level.
Now, to end this interview, because I could talk to you all night, and we'd be here till tomorrow. What advice could you give the people that aren't at that level yet? What would you say? How do we go there? How can we think this way? What advice, other than become a vegetarian and meditating, which a lot of people are doing now? But what kind of thinking would help us?
You mentioned fear,
Yeah.
and that's definitely the key. We have to realize that there are only two emotions, it's fear and love, and one of them is real, the other is not. But whenever you focus your attention in fear, your mind, your all-powerful mind, is creating the conditions of fear. So now try to use all that power into the creation of what is loving, what is embracing, what is peaceful. We have that power, we can do it. But as long as we collectively are focusing only on the fear and the bad stuff, unintentionally we are creating more of it. So let's search in our minds, let's realize, when is this thought pointing at whatever I don't want? If I realize that thought is really bringing me what I don't want, then I'll stop there. I forgive myself for thinking that way, and I'm focusing now on the opposite. I'm embracing and loving and helping. And as long as I keep doing that, you will see the reality transforming in front of your eyes. Real miracles happen when we shift our minds. The power is not moving physical stuff. The power is in the cause of all reality, and the cause is in the mind. You don't need a mind that is fearful. You need a mind that is loving. And that will secure our position in a higher level of vibration.
And then we will all be in the collective consciousness ready to embrace contact.
We are already there, only that we cannot recognize that as long as we feel the fear.
Thank you so much. This has been so enlightening and so wonderful.
Thank you.
I thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Cut.